Welcome to Level Up. I'm your host Hakeem, and this podcast where we jump into deep conversations about a lot of different topics, travel, tech, with some of the most inspiring leaders of the industry. And today I have a very special guest, Adam Varga, founder of SCT Hospitality, based in Budapest. His mission is really to inspire positive impact to the hospitality world. We're gonna come to this shortly. And Adam brings really deep insights into how hotels and tourism brands can evolve by embracing digital tools, smarter operations, and values driven mindset. Let's jump in. How are you, Adam?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having
Nice.
me.
Of course.
It's very cool. No secret, we know each other for a while, and
Yes.
it's very cool to be on your podcast. I think it's a great start for your own journey as well. So I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit of hospitality.
I'm excited to definitely have you. I think I've been lucky also working closely with you back in Season M time, and yeah, it was really special to see you on the floor, on the ground, and taking care of the guest experiences and taking care of such big teams, in different challenging positions. Because I will let you talk about this, of course, yourself, but it was really inspiring.
You are the
Adam, tell us.
sales guy, so
Yeah.
maybe you better introduce me.
Of course, you have been working some really challenging roles, especially if I go back to Citizen M Schiphol, which one of the most busiest hotels for the brand, with over 355 rooms, airport property with non-stop, challenges and requests and people coming from all over the world. So I think that was one of the, in my opinion, one of the great steps that I learned from you, being there on the floor, seeing a lot of things happening. So yeah, let's start with giving me, because I know you so well. Not a lot of people doesn't know you. So just briefly about your career, how did it started, where are you now, and then we jump a little more details into what you're doing next.
Of course. Yeah, I think the Citizen Am will come up a lot during this time. But to go back to the beginning, it's like a little bit like a football player kind of speech. It's always been my dream to work in hospitality. But for a matter of fact, it was my brother was working in different restaurants in Hungary, and very early, kind of, I started to look up to him, and it was super exciting what he did. And of course, at that point, it was all this we're talking about, like mid-90s, so it was also he earned quite well, so he was always having like very cool gear and clothes that you just want to like nick off of him as a kid. So it was very cool, and I jumped into starting to work summers, and never really like looked back since then, because it was just such a fascinating world of always something happening and getting to know new people. So yeah, I went to the school to kind of back it up with a little bit of a theoretical knowledge as well. So I went to a sort of specialized economic school here in Hungary. I also had the chance to go for 1 year to Switzerland, which was amazing as an experience. Also, not just as a hospitality person, but also as a growing adult. It was the first time I lived by myself abroad. So very eye-opening experience. And then my dream was from an early start to work for Four Seasons. I saw that as the epitome of luxury and
Yeah. Indeed.
hospitality. So I had the chance to go, and I worked in a property in Hampshire in England. Started as a waiter, left as an assistant manager, moved to Hyatt. I love F&B in general, so I'm in heart an F&B guy, and Hyatt seemed to be really a company that put a lot of emphasis on it. So I continued to move up the ladder. First worked for Andaz in London, and then moved later on to Amsterdam, also with Andaz. Then from there, as you kind of grow out of the F&B world and started to look for the bigger picture, I was a director of ops for the Hyatt Place, also by Schiphol. So it seems to be
Yeah.
that airport collects me a lot of times. Come COVID, there's a lot of changes, of course. So I was let go from Hyatt Place. No hard feelings, completely fine business decision. And I really kind of was lucky that stars aligned and there were some changes in the citizen and property in Rotterdam. So I got in there and I absolutely loved the concept from day one. I had a really good friend who worked there, Tony, and he talked a lot about it. We knew each other from Hyatt times. So yeah, I looked after Rotterdam first and then Schiphol. Fantastic memories, really amazing team. It's all about them. And we came through a period which was the recovery from COVID. So add everything onto what you said, being a busy property and all that. It was also building a new team again. Demand came back almost instantly, like super high demand. So it was a fascinating time, but really only good memories. And then I moved on to. There was an opportunity to work for my favorite restaurant in Amsterdam, a favorite restaurant group. So I grabbed the opportunity. That lasted a year. And then after I moved back to Hungary because my son lives here, wanted to be closer. And it was time to do something a little bit for myself. So I joined a childhood friend in his company and we founded the hospitality department. And that has been going on for a year in a nutshell.
Amazing. Wow, man, it's such an amazing journey, and I think what really inspires me is the fact that you have been to so different countries, so you've been to places and also cultures, and that also not the only thing, but also you work for different brands, which really top high, luxury to really digital, lifestyle, which absolutely different, and I've been there myself. It's such an amazing to experience, these two worlds because they are two worlds, and you get you learn a lot. You learn a lot from being very, efficient, very on top of things, and then in another world, or still like this in Season M in the lifestyle, but it's there are more freedom there where you really do a lot and you can think out of the box, which really amazing. I want to talk about the SCT Hospitality and your powerful mission. Definitely, it's really inspiring. What does inspiring positive impact and transformation means to you?
I think it's a fancy way to put it. You need to have the tag words there, but very simply looking behind, I'm just trying to make sure I can try to push people to think beyond their means and their comfort zone. I think we all know, this is usually not a high margin industry. You really, really need to look for every little investment that you do. But I think we're trying to just create a little bit of a change in the mindset as well. I think if we talk about Hungary, that is maybe even a little bit more of a step behind there. Really, how to adopt technology in a friendly way. Let's put it this way, and how to use it to your own development. But it's not just that. I think it's also when it comes to operations or when it comes to organizational development, which we also do, is really try to push people to think beyond their own limits in a way. And I had a million examples of that in my career. Just thinking back to Citizen M now, already a couple of names popping to my head, trying to do the same here. Don't stop just because it's, looks difficult or different or unfamiliar. That's why we're here trying to give that little bit of assistance that maybe sometimes pushes you beyond so you can create further.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's you go through this roller coaster always, you come back to it, and you come back to it. Really, really nice. My third question is about your international presence. You're based in Budapest, but of course you work with international contacts and you worked with international brands in international markets. Maybe tell us a little bit about how was your location influenced, and especially now with your starting up, and what are your plans? Are you still connected with the world, and how can you actually execute that?
Yeah, I think it's in a way, of course, we have certain things that are good in Hungary. We are operating with lower operating costs. We can know that maybe we can do the same work on a little bit of of a lower rate in a way. I know maybe it's not not good to say, but that's just the fact, you know. So I think that helped in surviving at the beginning, and setting up slowly. But I think, of course, the personal connection is everything, but you can so easily build networks crossing borders now everywhere in the world, just digitally or online. I mean, we have connections and clients in, don't know, Dubai, Hong Kong, Georgia, Portugal. And every week we connect to people from another country, and anywhere in Europe or even beyond. So I think with the world we live in now, there is really like no border.
No limit. Yeah, definitely.
No limit for that. So I think us being here in Budapest doesn't change much. Of course, makes it a little bit harder to reach the markets we really want to, because maybe there is some further steps included. But I think, the world is going to a different place here. So it doesn't really matter, I would say, where we are.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think, look at us here now. It's definitely true.
Exactly.
I think this is one of the best thing that I would be thankful to technology, is that, easy to connect and make sales calls or just come together to catch up and stuff like that. So absolutely.
Totally.
I want to go to a little bit more into hospitality and the transformation I think we have experienced also. You mentioned COVID. You mentioned, of course, the world did stop, especially for hospitality, more than any other industry. How has this, or how has the hospitality did evolve from COVID time until now, in your opinion? What kind of big trends or things, that really changing or shaping up the industry?
I don't know if it did in the first place.
Not yet.
No, I think we can say by now it's pretty much, I think, recovery is complete, so to say, from the numbers perspective, maybe. But I think there's going to be long-lasting pain points. One is labor, for sure. I think it was already a struggle before COVID. People not seeing it as much of a career as maybe we did. We are old, so I can say that,
No, but you're right. Yeah.
And definitely COVID shifted what we now cherish here, the borderless connections, and that you can work from wherever. I think, of course, that doesn't work in hospitality, or maybe just in certain parts of hospitality. So that has been a huge change that made it even more difficult to hire people. So I think that's definitely something that I continue to see. Normally, we know hospitality is a little bit of a slower industry to react. We tend to moan about the same things for years on and not do much about it. But I think we have no choice, because hotels will continue to open. It's as good of an investment now than it has ever been. And we can digitalize it. Of course, there is many different concepts where you can limit the human capital needed, but it will never fully go away. So you need to fill those hotels with people who want to work and represent the brand. And when I talk about this, I think something that I think comes worldwide, but maybe on a market like Budapest, you can see very much, is a segmentation that really starts to divide into just luxury only, and then the other division is sort of hybrid select service hotels. Even Bob W, for example, is good example, sort of almost this sort of service department feel.
Yeah.
I really see that in Budapest, that is incredibly growing, and this division is really appearing. And it has good parts and not. I think if we go to the hybrid models, amazing, really good idea, very lean, almost sort of an evolvement from some parts of Citizen M, of course, from the product perspective. And but I also come across many brands there who, when they're entering the market, they're already thinking about the exit. And
Okay, all right. Let's go.
yeah, it's true. It's really like they plan like, okay, increase value of assets as much as possible. 15 years, we will be out. And I don't really think that's good for the industry. It's
course,
probably
yeah.
it's an amazing business model, but it's not really good for the industry in general, I think. But that's maybe just my opinion. So I think, yeah, these are really the trends that I see or sense along the way. And then, of course, what I'm also here for is the adoption of technology, and
Absolutely.
and just like how we can really do that, because I think it's been there for a long time. Maybe we just didn't see it or didn't adapt it well. But I think that there must be a perfect mix of human touch and technology that really helps. And I think, for example, again, to go back to Citizen M, great
Yeah,
example.
definitely. Really nicely to transition to my next question, which definitely relate to this. Any digital blind spots from your experience you think maybe that hospitality is still struggling with until today?
Hard, I don't know how to say blind spots. I think there's probably many. I would say more of, I think it's tend to be, from my experience at least, from the consultancy world, but even before, it's just sometimes adopt technology for the sake of adopting technology, if it makes sense.
A lot.
So it doesn't really like go there and see, is that what we really need? Is that what we really will benefit from as an operations? And I think that's what is missing, and that's why maybe consultants like us can help, because we've been there, as you said, you've been there, the sales meetings, I've been there on the floor, whatever. We can see where certain concepts would need, and we also saw how they could benefit from it. So I think what I try to do now the most is to create sort of a situation where I can really help people understand their need. And sometimes it sounds funny because you think you know what you need, right? But many times I think you are in an operation, so you do the same thing all the time, so you don't really see it anymore. I will never forget when I worked in Andaz, London. I had an amazing director of operation called Johan Duplessis, and he always came in at like 10-15 minutes after opening the restaurant, and he said, "Adam, music." And I didn't understand, like, well, yeah, it's on. But very true, it was very quiet, because of course you were setting up the restaurant, maybe open at 6, not that many people straight away, so you still heard the music, but as it got busier, it kind of disappeared, like it's just too loud. So he always asked me, like, just step out, maybe go around quickly, come back. If you still hear the music, great, then it was on the right level. If not, let's put it up a little bit for the ambience sake, So I'm just using this as an example. When you in it and work crazy, like, you need somebody to step out and then look at it as a whole. So I would say the blind spot for me is identifying real needs. And maybe it's a little bit of a weird answer to your question, because I'm not listing a particular technological solution, but I really think that's what is missing at the moment.
I kind of agree with you, because also the needs actually you that you're looking for is especially in hospitality, most of the time is what not actually you need, but actually your client need, your guest needs. So you have to make those observations and understanding and listening and really being on the floor, understand what's going on, because that gives you definitely.
Or I would connect to you to say, what do you need to enable your people to be able to look after the guest the most, So exactly. There is multiple layers.
Exactly. And this is, I think, where the digital kind of transformation can come in. And we mentioned Citizen M is a great example of, being able to kind of connect, some of the big gaps between really the fully, hospitality world with all tradition, but also the digital, and trying to make that mix. So yeah, hopefully we see lots of those coming in, and I hope they stay the way they are. Definitely it's important. And to your consultancy, because you mentioned as well, this is what you do. You offer end-to-end consultancy to hospitality, or not necessarily hospitality, but maybe walk us through real-world example of what you do.
Yeah, I think we within SCT, Social Capital Tech, what it stands for, we have three departments, so to say, or three type of business that we do. One is digitalization and introducing technology or technological development in certain companies. Those can be large global companies as well as small, medium enterprises. We have one leg, which is human resources. So within that particular recruitment, and we do executive search there and recruiting for mid-level team members as well. And then the hospitality unit, which is the newest. And the example that I'm going to bring is a recent one that we did. Was basically a generational change within a company. So it was a company with 2 restaurants and a hotel. Parents passing on the torch to the 2 daughters, and we had to do a complete analysis of this change operationally, how they're gonna adapt, how the 2 daughters will take over the leadership, and also create sort of a training program for them in order to make them prepared for this leadership. This is just a primary example when I think our 3 departments perfectly came together. And that's why this is kind of the project that we really love. But besides that, I think when I say end-to-end, is we're trying to be present from pre-opening stages, if that's needed, whether from organizational point of view, set up operations, or create a complete tech stack or technological ecosystem for hospitality or even tourism business. And then for the latter stage operations, we can review operations from financial and standard perspective as well, and then see what they can do better, how they can be more productive, how they maybe can involve technology to be more productive and to be able to again focus on what they really need to more, how to adapt that. So I think this is where we do most of our projects. That's in the pre-opening stage and reviewing current operations and see how they can do better.
Nice. Really nice. Amazing. I'm interested to also ask you this question, like, how do you make a use of AI now in your entrepreneur? Are you using AI? Are you using it even in a small kind of examples, or are you really integrating to some of the big how to say, like real AI use in your digital?
Yeah, we use it. I mean, for ourselves, we use it to a certain extent. That is primarily, of course, some automatization in our work, also to speed up creating deliverables. That's very quickly there, or we doing a lot of interviews when we do these reviews or operational reviews or pre-opening setups or whatever. We do a lot of in-person interviews or online interviews, and then we of course use speech to text a lot of time. That really make our work super easy, because before you had to go through a whole 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour conversation and really kind of note take it and then summarize it, and now it happens in real time, basically, not even after the conversation. So it really, I think, made our work much easier. And for the client perspective, I find AI, I hope nobody gets hurt with this, a little bit of a buzzword, because I think it's been there. sort of large language models or chatbots or whatever. It's been there. I don't know, just think of revenue management or whatever. It's been there. Of course, it's getting more layered and more in depth, but it's really been there. I think it's just the key question is how we're gonna adapt it again to make our life easier. And I can always just go back to the same thing, is then how we can take time away so we can give it back to our guests. I think
yes,
that's
definitely.
what needs to happen.
Do you think it's gonna affect the future of hospitality in terms of job security and replacing some of the like simple tasks? To be honest, I don't know exactly. I know it can serve and help some jobs, some assistants, especially like admin and stuff like that. But when it comes to the really experiences and customer service, I don't know how this is gonna affect. I think the human part is really strong, and I think it will always stay. But what do you think?
Yeah, I see it maybe a little bit, and as you say, back of house for sure, and that's amazing for those guys as well.
Of course, yeah.
To, I don't know, if track CRM leads and whatever, like, and really make the most out of it. And amazing thing, automatization of communication or whatever, super interesting. And I think maybe will impact a little bit. I would see it more in the next couple of years, making our job easier at this point or more productive. And on the front end side, front of house, could replace, I think, in certain concepts if it suits. I've just been reading an article about digital concierges that is in one way or the other is already there, maybe on the iPad next to the bed or whatever, but to really for this to elaborate. But it can only fit into the right concept. I think that sort of human element will never go away.
Yes,
or cannot go away. Not in our lifetime, at least.
Not in our lifetime, at least.
And it's cool, you have all those, I don't know, hotels in Japan where it's you sleep in the pod, and everything is automated. You don't need to see anybody. Cool. It's really good. I think it could work in certain areas of the world, but like as a general makeover, I think it's not gonna happen in the next years.
You still want to when you arrive somewhere, of course that depends on the person and the age, kind of type and range and all that, but still you want to speak to somebody, I think. And if you're going to a hotel, if you're going to stay somewhere, at least for me,
I see it more of also depends, is it a resort stay, is it a city break, is it a work thing? And will you see it in Citizen Schiphol? So many times we didn't never seen the guests. They came, checked on the kiosk, went, ordered, pick up, left, bye. But I see it more of like AI helping us to give the choice to the guests. Whether hey, today I feel like engaging with the bartender. Tomorrow maybe I want AI to remember through my guest app interactions what is my favorite cocktail and get it ready by the time I'm back at the hotel. I see it more like that.
Of course, and I think also the environment plays a big role. I think if I go back to 2020 COVID, when COVID hit, and we both, I think, were in. I'm not sure you already were in Season M, and definitely it did. AI was not even crazy like now yet, but because of the digital aspect, that the guests were still able to, check in without touching anything or talking to anybody. That was one of the highlights, of Season M that time. I was like, all right, before just 1 year, it was like kind of weakness if you compare to some high star, 5 stars luxury hotels with experiences. But then suddenly it became one of the really top strengths for the hotel because of the environment, because what happened. And actually, Season M was one of the few hotels that could operate still in COVID, because we opened that time all of the properties. So I think only UK closed because the government was forcing to close all the hotels, but the rest of the world was still open. And I think one of the few hotels were stay. So it did really help in the environment. But again, I think 2022, 23, people had enough. People just wanted to speak up again. You wanted to talk to other, get this cocktail again, and go to the training, have this coffee with a friend. So it really depends on the environment. And I think moving forward, it absolutely gonna be critical for any company, and even hospitality or not, to make a use out of it, but make sure to keep connecting with the human aspect, or at least that's my poor opinion. So nice.
Like really also in the super personalization or hyper personalization, they call it, it will take a huge part. And I think that also people always want to be looked after,
Yes, of course.
There's no question for that. But instead of, I'd still remember like in Four Seasons, we were, noting down little things that guests would like, and then collect it on a paper.
Yes.
And then after the breakfast shift, then somebody collected it, and then somebody put it in the PMS and whatever. What a
This
crazy
is what
thing.
it comes in, definitely, absolutely. This is where technology would really plays a big role in hospitality. Is all of this admin work, and we know working in a hotel on hospitality, there's so much admin work that sometimes you just say, I hate your job because of all of this report you have to put in, and I think this is definitely where it will reduce that admin time and admin work, and gives the space to really focus on what is important, and experience, and talking to the guests. And
yeah, I was just talking to last week a revenue management guy who's representing a company out of the UK, and it's really like next level in the sense of that you can prompt the system to write your weekly or monthly report, And then I do remember, like even in the past, end of the month GM's report, or end of the month report, or whatever. Now it's literally was just like dashboard set up, one click, go, already put the emails in, automated, no need to worry.
Absolutely. Oh my God! If I look back at the beginning of my career in sales, oh my God, using Opera, and it was so slow, and I had to put all these sales calls, and I had to. Oh my God, it was horrible. It was so fun. Nice.
I wish it get connected to our phone now. That would be, or maybe there is already something, I don't know.
I think there is already some
that
apps
can
that
already
you can
lift
over
contacts.
It is. And it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time, definitely. Move a little bit to different direction, education, mentorship. I know you've been involved also with a lot of education and mentorship, and I want to hear it from you. You also mentioned to me before you've been working closely with one of the leading universities, but I want to hear from you. What is that? What's happening?
So as a company here, we the guys who founded the company are the alumni of Budapest Corvinus University, which is probably the leading university in Hungary, and also quite a significant one in the region. So we continue to do guest lectures there. There is a subject called digitalization and business models. So there we hold 2 guest lectures per year for the master team or course, and that's super exciting. Normally we go there for a day. There is a theoretical part with some presentation and delivering the material, and then there is 2 sessions where we give them a task, and they need to complete it there and then. It's super fascinating. I really like to engage with those guys also, because so many different mindsets and different ideas, and it's amazing how they see the world. So that's really cool. And then we also support another subject which lasts for a whole semester, half semester. That is, we play like a client,
like a role play.
We are their clients in a way. There's a group of students, and then we create a certain need, and then they need to create the answer or the project for it. So just to give you an example, this half semester we did ask them to create a digital system where everybody can go through a 20 question questionnaire. You can scale the answers from 0 to 5. It's all related to technology at your company. And then it gives you a score between 0 to 100%, and also highlights the two most important areas you need to improve, and also highlights that if you improve that area by a certain percent, what it will relate to you in financial and hopefully also customer satisfaction perspective. So we kind of mentored them to go through this whole project. And now in a couple of weeks' time, this actually will be integrated on our website as well. So anybody can just go there and for free fill it out.
Really
and get a bit of an overview of where they really stand at the moment in terms of their technological advancement. So yeah, that's the two projects that we having with them ongoing every year. Let's see what comes next. We're talking with the school to get involved, maybe even organizing a hospitality day. But at the moment, of course, it was exam period, and now everybody's out for summer. So I think back in September we'll pick this topic up. I would love to spend a little bit more emphasis on hospitality as a subject, because at the moment is a little bit neglected in terms of studies in Hungary, but I think there's still need for it.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you. And from your own experience, you've been really in so many different industries, so many different segments and brands. I want to ask you what, and this is for all the students who's in hospitality, maybe in Budapest, but also anywhere in the world. What skills do you think hospitality students must develop today to be successful really in that time, especially with the changing and transformation of AI and digital and all of that?
Yeah, that's simple. Not forget it's all about the people. As cliche as it sounds, it is. And I remember from my time, again, Citizen M, Schiphol, the ideas can come from anywhere, and really to continue to be open. It's so easy with tech and all that to really kind of like go into your screen and really close in and just look at the data and whatever. Like a seasoned person, you will sense that from the team. You will get the team, you will read your guests, you will see how they move, and of course tech is there to support and track that down and really make that thing that you observe into some real data you can work with. But I think I would say as a skill, remain extremely open and really have those conversations also with the people you will look after, because ideas can come from anywhere, and you will only know that's a great idea if you open, because otherwise you will just think, like, oh, it cannot come from this source, it cannot come from that source. It can come from anywhere, really. So yeah, it's maybe not really a skill, it's maybe a personal trait, I would say. And I know it's hard, and I had to force myself many times like that, because of course you go through so many human interaction. Maybe you have a bad period with your boss, and then you focus on that, or you don't agree over something and whatever, and your team is still there every day, 24/7. So you need to a little bit, it's like parenting, you need to force yourself to be open to your team all the time. And I think I would say that's still the most important for me.
Yeah, be open and think out of the box and connect this human part, because definitely that's what will last, at least. You since we're still in education, I want to ask you a question. Since you all been with the education system, and especially with the university, do you see disconnect between the education system, hospitality education system, and the real world hospitality?
A little bit. I think because such a quickly changing industry with such long-standing values, I do see a little bit of a difference or like a disconnect, as you say, and I would say more in adopting their theoretical knowledge on the floor or in a
Sure, yeah.
hotel. And I think it's a two-way thing, because I also know that as a hotel, you can also tell so many times, unfortunately, you see it as a must, like, oh, okay, we have somebody coming and we need to create a training program and then we need to spend some extra time with them. But here we do it so differently, because we work with a lot of guys from the university, and sometimes they're project leaders, we jump straight into the deep water, and then we help them along the way. But sometimes I think it's missing from hospitality, and that also doesn't allow these guys to really translate their theoretical knowledge and their mindset in how it would work in an operations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that way, I see a disconnect, and I think it's both the hotel industry and the education centers or organizations' responsibility to keep each other accountable.
Yeah,
For
definitely.
this,
Definitely.
because again, hospitality industry cannot allow anybody who is interested or want to work in here to go away. And we are so bad with this, really.
Yes,
How many
yes.
times we can see that people are not really looked after when they like put their heart in it. And it may be it's possible that they lack a skill or something, but then, hey, like we also didn't learn or didn't know everything straight away. We were
Yeah, of
taught.
course. You learned with the experience. Yeah, exactly.
So, and sometimes I fear that time is not created for this, because there's such a pressure to deliver, mainly even now after COVID, like recover anything that was lost, or make money now, because who knows what comes in a couple of years' time.
Yes.
But those kids need to learn somewhere, and they also need to be open to learn, because it's just because I don't know, ChatGPT will tell me how to run a hotel. Yeah, you're not gonna know how to run a hotel, because that human, and that human will act differently every day, and you need to
Exactly.
prompt ChatGPT every hour or half an hour, because then
Yeah,
you need to run the hotel differently. So I think there is a little bit of a disconnect, but bridgeable, if it's an English word. You can bridge it.
nice. What upcoming trends or disruptions are you watching closely for the hospitality?
Um, in terms of, I'm excited about the pleasure segment.
Yeah,
Uh,
big one.
I just read that in 2022, I think it was valued at $315 billion, and by 2030, it will be 750.
Oh, wow.
And I think the way we work and people work is this sort of mini extended holiday
Yeah,
stay
exactly.
over the weekend after work is absolutely like sounds it's gonna be here to stay. So I'm very excited in how people gonna react to that. And it's so
Uh,
funny, because there's been so many hotels. You are say, oh, this is a leisure hotel, or this is a business hotel, or during the week we are business, in the weekend we are leisure. Now it's gonna be like, oh, just like one pot.
yes.
So that's
I think
really,
it has been there always, to be very honest, like from years and years and years. But I think, or at least in my opinion, what really triggered that after COVID and after the return of travel, and people used to travel. So a lot of people who used to travel for 1 day trip, like 4 times a month, having an office in London, coming to Amsterdam for team meetings, they started to combine those trips, as to make one trip instead of 3 trips in 2 months or a quarter, and then combine it with a weekend. And
yeah,
now it's because, of course, they're becoming a trend. So even the corporate world is pushing for it. Like, okay,
yeah.
let's make that official. Let's
Put a
really
tag on it. So it's
let's put a tag on it. Yeah, exactly.
I'm excited about. I'm just thinking about like articles I read recently. I'm excited about subscription services. I think that's a cool thing,
Yeah,
and
also
Citizen
another
M
one. Yeah.
was doing it already, and Alaska Airlines does it now. And
I
vacation
think
rental.
KLM as well is, or did I hear correctly? Is KLM doing a subscription or something? Or
I didn't hear about that, but could very well be possible.
no, there was this other flight. I cannot remember. You can buy what like 500 euros or something, and you travel like. Of course, there are some regulations that you Transavia, I think, or I cannot remember. Anyway, but it's a future definitely.
Definitely coming, which is really cool. I think in terms of like how you create value out of loyalty as well, because it's always been a very important question. Um, yeah, even like I read about Blackbird, which is a sort of blockchain based loyalty and payment service program. They started as a pilot in the US last summer. Really exciting, really interesting to see, how you bring in crypto
Yeah.
and loyalty and all that into. It was tested in a neighborhood restaurant. So it's super fascinating. I recommend for everybody to look it up what they're trying to do there. So I think there's many exciting things to see, but also maybe I'm like really itching to see a disruptor like Citizen M was into the market, because it looks
Yes.
all a bit same at the moment. I really wish there is somebody who nails the F&B product. I'm sure there's many great F&B product outside, but
Yeah, but really, like as you said, like really something disrupting the market because it's not much that. Yeah, there are a lot of new, whatever any industry, everything is new, but something really that highlight and disrupting for real with a character and a personality and a brand is not so easy to build. It's quite
yeah, but I think
difficult.
that comes, of course, is ebbs and flows, and it comes every now and then. And maybe now is a little bit of a quiet time, but I'm sure there will be a big boom coming again, and then we move all forward, and then slows down again. So that's just quite normal. But yeah, as I said, I'm an F&B guy as well, so I always keep an eye out on F&B thing. I like what Ennismore does with Carte Blanche, which is sort of like their own concept office, so to say, for F&B concepts into their hotels. So there's really a lot of good things out there to keep an eye on.
Definitely. I'm personally interested for that answer now for my question. As a founder and a leader, of course, what are some of the biggest lessons you have learned to your entrepreneur journey? For me, for the people who's starting up something, what advice can you give?
I'm in no place to give advice to anybody. I can share my own struggles, and then everybody needs to turn it into what
Don't underestimate. Don't underestimate it.
how
Some
it's used.
small little
Um,
things can help.
Definitely don't. I try to be so perfect at the beginning, really.
Yeah, I know
Um,
that.
I rewrote our intro deck, I don't know, like 150 times, like I shared it with everybody, read this, whatever. But I think I sent out the deck, I'm not joking, maybe 10 times, 8 times. I talked about it a million times, but it's really like about, again, the human interaction, how you're gonna have that sales chat or just a random chat that turns into a project. um, I'm not saying to do crap work, so don't misunderstand me, because it's also important for you. You do it, you go through that deck 150 times, so you learn it every time, and that's when you stand there in a sales pitch. It's practice, so it's gonna help. But maybe you write down something today which in 6 months time you will laugh about it, because it will be out of date, or it will just not resonate with you at all. And so I would say, just, put yourself out there, put your concept, put your thoughts out there, bring it, represent it, and then you will evolve with it together, really. Don't try to work on something, okay, I'm not going to send this out until it's perfect. It's never going to be. And maybe it's perfect for one potential client, but it doesn't really work with the other client. So it's really about how you talk about it and how you sell it. And it connects to me to say, like, embrace that it's not going to work sometimes, or it's not going to work with everybody. And I still struggle with it. First of all, because I take it very seriously. I always did. And because it's not like operations, in operations, I don't know how many human interactions we had on a daily basis between colleagues, between guests, probably I would say in the thousands. So every day you can go home and kind of have all these little helping points or moments to create a picture of your day. Was it a good day? Or this part was good, this part maybe could be better, blah, blah. But when you at consultancy, you have maybe a client meeting at the beginning, maybe every week, but then it maybe becomes every 2 weeks or a month, depending how long it is. So all these thoughts that you have, all those little like helping marks are really far and few between. So it's very easy to lose your confidence and to say, am I doing the right job? Am I not doing the right job? And that's why you need to take everything out of the client meeting. Really, like I always say, if at the meeting you have questions or whatever, that's still okay. And then if you don't understand there, it's still okay. Or once you leave it and you still don't understand, that's your fault, because you were there. You should have asked. So I think, these things is super important. I also find tricky to do so to say operational work. Sorry, stick with me, but project work and sales at the same time.
Yeah,
because
of course.
you maybe go like super deep in a topic, but then you still need to think, okay, when this project ends, I need something signed already, and when that's signed, something needs to be in the pipeline already, and then that is actually takes much more than I ever imagined. That's super tricky.
Yeah, that's really nice advice, because I can really relate to it. I'm that person, of course, wanted everything to be like sharp, perfect, everything written perfectly, everything looked perfectly. And then I said, you know what? No, I'm just gonna start. And I think this is related to your advice. Just start and learn during the journey. Learn, and things will come and things will change. Definitely, after 6 months, pretty much everything you've been doing will definitely change. So really nice advice, Adam. Thank you.
And I think, just as I'm thinking, one last thing with this is, when you have something that you need to deliver, give it to someone who has no idea about the topic, and even better if he doesn't really know you, because the best advices I received from my brother's girlfriend, because she had no idea of what the topic is. She knows me a little bit, but not from a business perspective. So she could say that, sorry, this slide doesn't make any sense. So we're most likely, if it goes to some people who have a little bit of sense, for a lot of them also not going to make sense. So then you think, okay, wait, maybe sometimes you write slides or you write content and your mind automatically connects two dots, but it doesn't mean that another person can automatically connect the two things together as well, So you need to make it like a little bit more of from that perspective,
Really nice advice.
Now I always give it to somebody, I don't know, my mom or someone to read it, who knows me a little bit but doesn't know much about the industry, or to a friend of a friend who is a lawyer maybe, and they really give good advices.
Yeah,
or just back something.
It's a really nice one, because like always when we write something or think of something, you think of your own, perspective and your own network, but pretty much you will meet and face a lot of people who doesn't know you in your journey. So I love this advice. I'm gonna definitely take it. So start, just start, make mistakes, continue, learn from the journey. Also, let somebody else look into what you're doing. Somebody that doesn't know you, somebody
Client
even cousin
confidentiality
or
is key. Okay. Client confidentiality is clear, key, but
really nice, really nice. Adam, where people can find you or connect with you
in
for
Hungary.
collaboration, for learning? In Hungary.
Um,
Nice.
no, I wish to travel a bit more, but currently in Hungary, no. But yeah, we have a website, of course.
I'll
So
share it in yeah, I'll
you
share
can
it.
pop it in the comments down there, as they
I will
say,
do it
or in
down
the bio. Um, and my lovely colleague just updated it recently, so it looks
Nice.
cool.
It was nice. I checked it out. It was really
And LinkedIn as well. We are quite active on it. Of course, it's like a number one help for networking as well. So we also like to share a lot of content there. And then we'll have this little addition to the website coming as well. But primarily, I think this is the two source. We have a little bit of like a book an appointment thing as well, where you can set up an appointment for half an hour to see where we can help potentially. So I think these are the key channels where they can reach us at the moment.
really nice. I'm gonna add them definitely in the comments, and people can reach out to you. Last advice or a tip for all the young people out there. I think you mentioned earlier in the call that after COVID, the hospitality really become not so attractive as before. So what kind of advice or tips that you can give to somebody who's just starting, like just in operation or F&B or whatever?
Be social, I think. Yeah, trust in the human element and the human capital, because I think after COVID, I will never forget. Of course, you had different levels of restrictions and whatever, and people could maybe come together. I did a lot of times with my friends for dinners and whatever, but everybody was just itching to go and grab a beer after work, go to a restaurant, be together. And that what drives us forward, I think, those interactions, whether it's with our family or for us, our kids, and look at the world with their eyes, our friends, whatever. And that will also drive your best business opportunities, I think, because people will hear you talk, will connect to you or connect with somebody they know, they wanted your service or whatever. So I think if you just out there and you believe in, yeah, technology can help and will help and it's amazing, but ultimately still that sort of human to human connection that will matter. So practice it as much as possible.
Nice, nice. I'm
As
gonna
a technology consultant, to close it like this. No, I'm not a technology consultant.
Adam, thank you so much for the powerful conversations. It's exactly what I'm aiming for out of this podcast, is really share some knowledge, learn from real kind of experiences, not just looking at ChatGPT or whatever, some real stories. So I'm really thankful for your time and your support, of course. And thank you all for watching, and we stay tuned. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much, and good luck with your journey as well.